welcome to the Fermented Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Anna, and on this channel, I'm sharing our journey of learning how to turn our home into a homestead. Today, I'm going to show you finally what I've come up with to overcome the fact that I can't sink T-posts into my ground to make some cattle panel arch trellises. So I've come up with a prototype. I know it works because I started one down there, but I'm going to show you the actual process up close, personal, how I'm doing it, all the parts that I'm using, all that fancy mumbo and jumbo. So if you have an issue digging into your ground, or if you just simply don't want to, this is a great way to combine a raised bed with an arch trellis. And you can even cover it with plastic and fill in the center with soil if you want to make it into like a place to grow things in the winter or in the spring, early spring, mostly winter, late fall, whatever. So you need 6 2x6x8s. You can use different size lumber. If you have access to larger stuff, you can totally use larger stuff. You could probably even use the 1-inch lumber. I'm just not going to. I need something that has some rigidity to it because I can't get the T-post in the ground. So that's the whole point here. So I'm using 4 of these, 1 for each corner, and I'm using 4 of these. They're like deck brackets. And so these are just going to join the center. So these are for the corners, these are for the centers. Depending on if you want to do this without power tools or if you have access to power tools, you'll either need some 1.5-inch nails, which I got these nails. These work fine, but I prefer screws. So I have these. This particular brand, I get them at Lowe's. I'm sure they're available elsewhere, but this particular brand is the best outdoor wood screws that I have found. And I don't know if you call them self-driving or what, but they have like this little, it's like a sharp toothed, it just has these little sharp, like toothy type things on the, what do you call these? On the screw thing. I can't think of it. They're countersinking blades. So these things you don't have to actually dig a pilot hole for. And that's the main reason that I love these. And they also they hold up really well. So for this particular project, I was using the 1.5-inch screws and just a few of the 2-inch screws. And you'll see where I'm using each of these later. Depending on whether you're using nails or screws, you'll need a hammer. You'll probably need a hammer either way. It's pretty handy in situating these things. And a drill. And then you're gonna need some of these. I actually learned about these from Living Traditions Homestead. It's perforated hanger strap. These things are super handy. You can find, this was in the electrical section. I believe they also sell these different type in plumbing. So find these things. It's just a long piece of metal tape basically, and these things are fantastic. Then for this particular project, you're gonna need 6 of these U-posts. I believe these are, the wind is kicking up. I'm sorry if there's wind noise, but you're gonna need 6 of these U-posts. These are the 4-foot long U-posts. 3 feet is not long enough. It won't hold up the sides. Some of the tools that you're gonna want for this project are a tape measure, wire cutters, a carpenter square, a clamp of some sort. This is the smallest clamp that I have that will actually do what I need it to do. Any kind of clamp that will hold stuff together when we get to it. And if you want to have some extra rigidity and security, you can use these fence post or fence staples and then zip ties. I think that's pretty much everything that I used for this project. If you have access to a driveway, a deck, something flat that is 8 feet squared, then this is where you're going to want it. If not, find a piece of plywood. I hope the sound isn't terrible. I apologize if it is. I'm going to bring you down close. I'm going to show you each part that we're doing as we're doing it, and hopefully this will be a good kind of give you some ideas of some things that you can do. So this is not the home of where this is going to be. This is simply in the shade. I was over there working and I got a massive sunburn. So I'm going to try and stay in the shade and try not to get any more sunburn. So once the sun goes down over the trees, we're going to move this stuff over there once it's actually built for its final resting place, at least for now. So for this, at least for the first one, I found it's really easy to just get it set up sideways like this. And then we're gonna go ahead and mark our holes. Right, and then we don't have to worry about if I accidentally move it or something like that. So here's where we're gonna use the 1.5 inch screws. And then just flip them up and join them. Make sure they're even and right where you want them. Because if you're off by just a little bit, it can be kind of difficult. That one needed me to drill in just a little bit. I couldn't get it to hold still. We got all 4 of the corner brackets in. The next step is going to be to you kind of want to make sure that it's pretty even, pretty square. And the way you do that is just measure from corner to corner. And if each measurement is equal, that means it's, it's not off kilter, like, 8.5. That's good enough for me. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna install these brackets. But first we're gonna change the battery because I see it's barking at me. Hold on. Basically the way that it's designed, you put it underneath. Let me see. You wanna get, I'm doing it the janky way, okay? I'm not doing it the professional contractor way. And basically you put this underneath the board. You set the board up where you want it. You're gonna put this underneath the board and you squish it up against the board. You hammer these pieces in right here, these pieces, and that temporarily holds it in place long enough for you to screw in or nail in these parts. And then you screw it or nail these ones, and that's where you need the longer ones. These ones go kind of diagonal through this board and into the board that it's joined to. So that's how it joins it together. Yay! Also to note, you got to do the whole board at the same time. I figured that one out last time. You set up one, nail it in, move to the next one. So I want to make sure that I have a 5-foot arch. So we're going to measure 1.5 feet in from each side. So this part of the joining is very important. The way that I set it up, you can see that it's joined like this, and it's the same over here, right? And then if you go from this board to this board, you can see that we had it set up that way. The purpose of it is so that you can run the 8-foot 2x4 this direction here, and there'll be another one running this direction. I'm gonna bring you in close and show you how we're gonna set up this board. And the way that I'm measuring this for where I'm gonna put this board here is I'm gonna measure it 18 inches, 1.5 feet from the very edge right here. This board is gonna go on the inside of 18. These are only gonna be 15-inch openings, and that's because I wanna have exactly a 5-foot wide arch. So that's why, that's all my measurements for that. For these, you can totally use a Craig's jig. If you can use some, if you know joinery, you can dovetail this, you can do whatever you wish on this, but this wind is driving me crazy. We're gonna get the bracket, the brace on here. Once we get the brace on, we can go ahead and carry it down to where we're actually gonna get it set up. As I told you earlier, we're gonna go with 18 inches, right? So we're gonna mark this on the 18-inch mark. Then, in order to make sure that we get this thing up and down, we're gonna put our square on here. And then we're gonna make sure that our bracket runs right along this line so that you don't get like some weird cattywampus line. Ask me why I know to do that this time, because I screwed it up last time. For this part, you need to screw it again, the bracket, a hammer, screws, or nails. Okay, so this part you do have to kind of get it situated just right. It can be a pain in the butt. You do want this stuff to be kind of snug, I think. I'm no contractor, but I just realized that the board is in the way, so I can't get this flush. Okay. Now we got a straight line here. Okay. It helps if you have a driveway. I don't. Okay. So we're gonna line it up on the inside of that line. Here's where I go different. I found you can hammer this piece in. I find that that doesn't work. So I just line up the bracket, screw it in. Okay. And then the other piece. You gotta make sure it's up there nice and smooth. Okay, maybe this part will have to. There we go. Just gotta hold it in place. Gonna do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll come through and do the other screws. So do the same thing in the bottom holes here. So then we're gonna screw these guys in to this hole and at an angle. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just put on the other bar, and then we'll be ready to move it. Time to move this bad boy. Probably would be a good idea to clear the space. So hubby came out here, he had perfect timing. We got the pieces moved over there. It's getting kind of late. I honestly don't know what time it is. I think it's like 8 o'clock. So I still need to water all of my garden, plus all of Robert's garden with all of his potatoes over there. And then I'll see you guys back here tomorrow, where hopefully we'll be able to finish. The next step in this trellising process is going to be to kind of try and level out the ground underneath the box part as much as possible. And so with that, I have this, it's a strange little pickaxe. So I'm just going to kind of dig at it a little bit in the spot. I'm going to place it where I want it, figure out the high spots where I need to kind of dig out a little bit, so that way it'll kind of settle in. Then I'll put the cardboard underneath it. And then once that cardboard gets wet, it'll kind of settle into that spot where I have it. I really tried to dig in here and to pickaxe out this, but it's come to mind, there's a lot of really big rocks in here that I'm not going to be able to get it totally dug under. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to get it super level. So I have soil over there that is very heavily clay. So kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to do is on both the inside and the outside of here, I'm going to fill it in and make it be so there's no air gaps. And then we'll put the cardboard on top of it. And then just as time goes on, when I start to see spots that are kind of leaking the soil, I'm going to go ahead and put like wood wedges inside there. So just to get it kind of propped up where it needs to be propped up. Before we get these things situated exactly where they need to be, we're going to go ahead and put these U-posts. I'm going to show you how I install them on this guy over here. So I'm going to show you how I do one of these poles, and then I'm just going to do them all. But first thing you got to do is measure out where you want the poles. And I like to line them up with the rungs on, I don't know what you call it, the lines on the cattle panels. That's so that I can measure and put it right along the line. And I also use my carpenter square to make a straight line to make sure that these things were perfectly perpendicular. This part is a little bit backwards. You see, typically these posts are going to go like this. However, I like to put them like this. And the reason for that is that you have this extra little piece right here on the bottom that gives it more stability, and you can screw this, or you can put the tape underneath here just for an extra level of holding it in place. So we're just going to put that there. Oh, I forgot my clamp. Hold on. I need a clamp. So if you're not working on a perfectly flat surface, I'm putting this 2x4 under here just so that I can make sure that this meets the bottom, right? And then I'm going to take my clamp here. Put it on here. Make sure that the clamp is leaving this hole open. And we're just going to screw in our 2-inch screws. And the top one, you kind of, if you're using a 2x6, you kind of have to go at an angle. There we go. Next. So this might be perfectly secure. I don't believe it. So I like to overbuild everything whenever possible. So that's what we're doing. So you're gonna put this underneath the clip here, right? And take your screw here and put it in part way. Not all the way. There you go. Then you're gonna take this one, screw it in on the other side. You wanna make sure you're coming in at an angle. I just think that that helps to keep it nice and taut. Screw it in all the way and then come and screw this one in. Then we're gonna do another one up top and it's done. Nice and secure. Hopefully that'll stand up to any kind of high winds that we get around this area. Let me bring you in close just so you can see. So the first thing that we did was 2-inch screws here and here. And then we did this strap. I screwed in this screw halfway. And then you can see it's underneath this little lip right here. Then we screwed this one in all the way and then finished this one. And that kind of just helps. I feel like it keeps this strap just a little bit tighter. It might not, but that's what I do. So that's pretty much it. Now we're just going to join them together and to the posts with the amazing zip ties. I couldn't think of the word. Let me bring you in close and I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm going to try and get these panels to line up with the lines here, I'm going to try and get the lines of the panels to line up with the poles here. If I can't, whatever. I'm not going to stress it, but I do like to put the zip ties right at a cross. You can see right here, you got this thing meets this, and I'll just put the T-post right here, or there we go. Oh, that fixed it. Problem solved. That just kind of, it's another step to keep them kind of secured. So that is pretty much it for building the cattle panel trellis, arched trellis contraption. Make sure that you guys stay tuned and I'll keep you guys posted on all the happenings with this bad boy here. And if you guys are new around here, we just moved to our 30-acre homestead in southern Missouri. We're transplants from Washington State. And I'm just bringing you guys along while we are turning our existing Sorta infrastructure into something that meets our needs and expanding it as well. Bringing you guys along, sharing with you guys all of that stuff. I also like to do all kinds of videos on food preservation, canning, freezing, dehydrating, and fermenting, as well as videos showing you how you can actually use that preserved food in your everyday cooking. If that sounds awesome to you, click this button right here. This is a subscribe button. This is where you can keep updated with all the happenings around the homestead. Up here is a video that Mr. Google Pants thinks that you're going to enjoy. Over here is my last gardening video, and then up here is my Gardening 2022 playlist. Check that out for all the awesomeness and everything that we've done since we moved to Missouri. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.